when values go up and down, when rates go up and down, how do you talk some of your people off the ledge? Because my phone's about to go off the hook the second we're done this recording, because a lot of my clients are either from the school of thought of Jazz, like, I'm going to lose my shit, I don't know what to do. Or some of my more savvier people are going to look at this as opportunity. Look, I'm not here to tell you that you should only be looking at this as an opportunity and you should be aggressive, because if that's not in your nature, don't do that. But what's your kind of thought process and how you talk people off the ledge right now?
If there's a ledge, it's a ledge of opportunity, and that sounds so like
a play on words.
Way too cliche. So let's move on from that.
Yeah.
For anyone who knows me, I got 3 kids that keep me looking young. And
how old?
So right now, the first was born in 2017. These are historic times in real estate.
Yeah.
2017, 2020, and 2022.
Okay.
I just have a 3.5-month-old.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you. So what's ironic is every year I have a kid, the market crashes. So lucky for everyone in the room, that's it. I'm done. But at the same time, what I've noticed is those are all years when my business did the best. And that was actually where I started from, is I noticed every time I have a kid, my business does really well.
And when you say business, I just want to make sure that everybody understands. You're talking about your real estate practice.
All of it. It's all.
Even your investment portfolios.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure
Yes.
that they know what
Yes.
we're talking about.
Yeah, because, and this is where I love content creation, apart from just being in the limelight, is it's an opportunity to communicate what's going on to people. We have a ton of guests come on, and I actually find the most downloaded episodes are the ones with just me talking about what's going on in the market, because people don't care about me. They just love that I love the market, and they do too. So why those have been so successful for me in whether that's a real estate as a salesperson, the number of transactions, because right now we know sales are down, but then why am I doing well? And it all comes back down to is like, you have to be clear with what's going on. I think right now we're in the middle of something, but in 2020 is a perfect example. That's actually when my podcast started and absolutely took off, because it was explaining to people what was going on in the market and being able to communicate that. I did reach out to clients and said, wait, I pulled back all my business. A lot of active clients, I said, you got to just stop. And this could be 6 months. This could be a year. But within a month, I was on the phone again saying, guys, this is the time, because the drop happened so sudden.
What did you see?
So I like to track, the TREB numbers are always too late. Even right now, we can, without getting into specifics, so you can see movements that are happening in the market. The sales to new listing ratio is a perfect indicator. Months of inventory is too long. It's too late. But you can see the activity and whether we're moving into a buyer's market, a seller's market. And you can also, what I felt like as an example in 2017 and then again in 2020 was that there was an all-around agreement that we want this market to crash. Like there was kind of, in 2017 was a perfect example of the stress test. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect smoke and mirrors to crash a market that there various levels of government were trying to do anyways.
You also have the fair housing plan that came in spring of 17-ish, right?
Right. So it was only a matter of time. So I actually sold I guess this would have been my second property in Oshawa and closed a month prior to the drop in 2017. So that would have been April 2017. So anyways, all of this to say, with a finger, as much as it's like time in the market is better than timing the market, I love to time the market. And it's just like, why not? Why not be aware on what's going on? And I think the information, in many ways, these are just a few of them, is just so readily available. Mm-hmm. Like even just from our shows and conversations, people are not hiding this conversation. It's mm-hmm. just finding the right insight mm-hmm. and then applying it to your business. So for me, just being a voice for what's going on, explaining it to people and not being afraid to say, don't do it, or now's the time to do it. People trust that and they'll eventually catch on. And then that's when you start getting the best calls, right? Thank you. I was wondering what to do. I made the move during this time, and that is worth it. Like that's really the best part.
You said a couple of things, brother, that I want to unpack. Number one is that you like to time the market. And I am one of those people that say, look, at the end of the day, I'm one of the most boring investors ever, because all I do is just put time in the market. I buy something, I rent it out, I let the values do what the values do. They go up and down. I don't lose sleep over any of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, a lot of it's paper money anyways, right? Until you actually pull out, or in terms of selling, or pull out some equity. But how do you go about timing the market?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough talking to so many viewers because everyone's coming at it from a different perspective, right? Like one guy calls me and says, I got 9 condos and I'm freaking out because low rises are climbing so fast and I'm sitting here wondering what's going on. Well, that same gentleman I was talking to a month or two before the collapse, specifically in the detached segment of, you know what, it's overinflated. You'll be fine. And now maybe things have started shifting in the market today, but at the moment that information was relevant to him. So I look at it really broad, but I like to kind of specifically look at different segments. A lot of the numbers that are published can be thrown off. Like if the number of sales are happening in the condo space, your average sales is a useless stat. When 2020 happened, this was a big part that I wrote on and explaining what was going on is we weren't supposed to be looking at sales. We were supposed to be looking at specific segments and what proportion of sales are happening. And there was a lot more sales happening in markets that at that time were in the detached, which is inflating it. And when the detached or the luxury market started saying, hey, we got to back off, it immediately dropped a lot of the prices where you didn't see that across the board if you go by what Treb calls the HPI index. And the HPI index was kind of that. Was for a
I
lot
just want to make sure it's like we don't throw too much jargon, only because my guys might not know.
Sure.
House price index.
Yes.
Go on.
So, and explaining that to people, I think was the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people in 2020 were devastated, especially even in the real estate industry. Like I'm trying to explain to my clients, it's a good time to invest because it's always a good time to invest, but I don't feel like it is. So having the conversation about how HPI was really the true number and Treb started kind of trying to redirect, but at the end of the day, they're trying to, the newspapers are trying to make headlines, but if you go a little bit below, you don't have to go that far. You'll start to see the moving parts.
Let's talk about the house price index. Explain to my guys what it really is.
Sure. So house price index essentially breaks down housing prices by segment. So if you're going to own a 1-bedroom condo, you don't care what the average price is in Toronto. You care what the average price is of condos.
One-bedroom condos.
One-bedroom condos
Yes.
in my neighborhood. And the HPI index does that.
Yeah.
And it goes based off of a date. I don't know what it is now. 1988 or some random arbitrary date.
I think it was like the early 90s or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it's actually relatively new. Like it's not, Treb hasn't been like giving that, like they didn't come out with the house pricing index. I think it was only up until like about 7 years ago, I think it came out ago.
There's nothing sexy about the HPI.
Right. Nothing sexy about it, but I actually completely agree because I'm all about like diving into comparative market analysis and doing, but most people go by street or they go by like a radius of a couple of kilometers. You want to compare apples to apples. And the only way to really do that is through what you call the HPI.
For real estate professionals, this is how they're seeing it practically in their business. They'll have someone come up and say, oh, I hear the real estate market is crashing. But when you know what that person has in their portfolio and you know, no, it's not for you. That's them indirectly recognizing the HPI of that particular segment, but then getting washed by the public news of housing prices are doing this or that. They're crashing, they're rising 30%. You don't see that play out in the same way in HPI in every segment. And even right now, we have a disproportional change in the detached versus the condos that can only be seen in something like the HPI.
Well, look, I think even for real estate agents that are listening right now, when you do get that question at a cocktail party, like how's the market? Yeah. I think one thing that you need to do is just quickly ask the person who's asking you, are you asking from a home buyer's perspective, a home seller's perspective, or an investor's perspective, right? Because to your point, I mean, everyone's portfolios are different and some people don't even have a portfolio. They're just looking to, like, they own their first home. They just maybe bought at the peak of the market and they're wondering. And so for you as a real estate agent, you need to know who you're speaking to and from what perspective. And then I think is the only way that you can actually give them some type of advice after backing it up with actual facts, right? And